Thank you. And is the
Yoso
Bhagava Arahant Samma Sambuddho Swakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yassa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Dhammayang Bhagavantang Sadhammang Sasanghang Imehi Sakkarehi Yatharahang Aropitehi Apipujayama Sadhu no Bhante Bhagava Suchira Parinibbutopi Pachima Janatanukampa Manasa Ime Sakkare Dugatapanna Karabhute Patiganhatu Amhakang Dikaratang Hitaya Sukhaya Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi.
Svakato
Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami.
Supatipanno
Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.
Andamayang Buddhasa Bhagavato Pumpapaganamakavang Kavamase
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Let's sit together for a couple of minutes of meditating.
Hey, Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I know there's people from around the world here. I'm happy to see so many people here. Welcome to today's Sanghamitta Day program. This is the full moon day of the month of Margasira in Sri Lanka, known as Unduap Poya. And today, when it is remembered that great Arahant Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta arrived in Sri Lanka with the Bodhi tree, sent by her father, the Emperor Ashoka, on the invitation of a queen in Sri Lanka, the Queen Anula, who had heard the Dhamma from Sanghamitta's brother, Mahinda Thero, who was sent there as a missionary. And she had achieved the first two stages of awakening, and she wished to go forth as a bhikkhuni. And then there was the invitation to Sanghamitta Theri to come to offer that ordination to her in Sri Lanka, bringing with her the sapling of the Bodhi tree from the southern branch of the original Bodhi tree in India, under which the Buddha himself awakened. And today, on this full moon day, was the day when she arrived in Anuradhapura, and they crowned the Bodhi tree, put it in the ground, planted it, a real arrival. So we're going to be hearing much more about that story. That's just a very brief overview right now. But this is what we're here to commemorate today. And I'm glad that so many of you could come. I'm happy to see, let's see, well, I want to first mention our founding abbess Ayat Taloka is not here with us right at the moment, but I think she may be joining us on the live stream. And I know that just a lot of her heart and her work has gone into making, into teaching all of us about this, and hopefully sharing with you and just acknowledging her and with appreciation for all that she's shared with us about this, that we now hope to be able to help to share with you. Also, we have here Ayasolpana Theri, our vice abbess. She will be facilitating the discussion of some of the ancient texts about Sanghamitta Theri that we'll be reading today. And online here, okay, so let's see, I see Venerable Bhikkhuni Silavaddhani. We'll be hearing from her a little bit about her recent pilgrimage experiences in Sri Lanka. We'll also give a longer bio of her in a minute. I see Aya Marajina Bhikkhuni Marajina. Good to see you. I see Aya Brahmavara and Venerable Anuvidita. Good to see you. Among other friends online here, many friends, and some also in person. And well, next to you, not on the screen, but we have Venerable Dhammadharini Bhikkhuni, another of our Dhammadharini residents is here. And here we have Samaneri Dhammajivi, who some of you may have previously known as Dr. Malai Uch. She's our newest Samaneri, and she's also had a lot of interest and enthusiasm for Sanghamitta Theri and her story, so she's going to share some of that with us today. So all of these venerables will be joining us with us in discussion and learning more about this, with the idea that this is just a blessing to us to know about such great beings in the world, and that their memory can still inspire us today and show us the possibilities in the Dhamma. And oh yes, I want to mention here is Sanghamitta Theri behind me, arriving with the Bodhi tree. So she's here with us, even if small. So welcome all. A basic plan for today is that we'll hear from some of our venerable bhikkhunis. We'll have some discussion time about the ancient texts related to Sanghamitta. How do we know her story? Where does that story come from? And yeah, we'll let's close with some blessings at the very end. Before we start that, though, I would like to have a little presentation expressing our gratitude to, well, you'll see. Let me play the presentation. Just a moment. Get this pulled up. Okay, let's see. Are you able to see that? What are you seeing? No. Okay, hang on. Try again.
You got to swipe across to open up the screen. There you go.
Okay. Share. All right. Are you seeing that now? Gratitude. Okay. So we want to start today by, this whole day really is an expression of our gratitude to many people, beginning with our original teacher, the Buddha, without whom none of us would be here, none of us would be living this way of life or feeling its benefits. So, Anumodana to our great teacher. And also to the ancient Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni Arahant Sangha. You can see them live on the screen here and also here. This is at the right hand of the Buddha. Behind me here we have the great Arahant disciples, Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Moggallana, foremost in wisdom and foremost in spiritual power among the bhikkhus. And then among the bhikkhunis on the right hand, behind Ayasophana right now, we have Venerable Kema Theri as the foremost in wisdom, and Venerable Upalawana Theri as the foremost in spiritual power among the bhikkhunis. So to both the bhikkhu and bhikkhuni Arahant Sangha who pass this down, our gratitude. And then the lineage continued beyond them. So today recognizing Arahanti, Sanghamitta Theri, also an Arahant, not just a diplomat. So she's part of conveying this Dhamma heritage to us from the Buddha, from the original ancient Arahant Sangha. And then she passed it on also to to actually many other women, Anula Arahanti, Anula Tisa Theri, originally known before she became a bhikkhuni as Queen Anula Devi, but after her ordination became Anula Tisa and became an Arahanti. So we know the lineage did not end with Sanghamitta, it passed on further stages. And to today also, we want to express our gratitude, especially to the present day Sri Lankan Bhikkhuni Sangha, knowing that although Sanghamitta Theri is, I think, an international symbol for us, there's also the very special connection with the Bhikkhunis of Sri Lanka. And we want to acknowledge and appreciate our connection also with the Sri Lankan Bhikkhuni Sangha, including especially Venerable Bhikkhuni Sudarshana Mahatheri. She was the senior most in monastic life of the Bhikkhunis in the groundbreaking 1996 Sarnath Bhikkhuni ordination. And she has served as one of the two first Theravada Bhikkhuni preceptors of North America, along with our Dhammadharini founding abbess, Ayatthaloka Mahatheri. So gratitude to her for her role. Also Venerable Bhikkhuni Mahagoda Sumitra Mahatheri, who ordained as a bhikkhuni in 1997 together with our founding abbess, Ayatthaloka. I don't have a photo of her, but appreciation and gratitude for her role in that ordination. Most venerable, two venerables here, most venerable Paduke Sumitra Mahatheri, who served as the bhikkhuni preceptor of our Dhammadharini vice abbess, Ayasophana Theri, who is here at her ordination. This is her most venerable preceptor. And her most venerable bhikkhuni Nisaya Acharini, Venerable Siri Sumedha Mahatheri. Also friend and mentor, Venerable Kalutara Sudina Mahatheri, who spent a lot of time with us here at Dhammadharini over the years, and I think originally friend to Ayasobana during their days together at Bhavana Society, and wonderful character, happy to know her in this life. Also the late Venerable Achi Aye Satima Theri from Sri Lanka, who ordained together with Ayasobana in Sri Lanka, now passed away a few years ago. we would also like to express our gratitude to all great this should say bhikkhu, sorry, bhikkhu mahateros, who have been such great and faithful supporters of our bhikkhunis from the time of the Buddha to the great arahats like Mahinda Thero, the brother of Sanghamitta Theri, and to the members of the Sri Lankan Bhikkhu Sangha who have faithfully and dedicatedly supported the revival of Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha in our generation, including our founding abbess Ayatthaloka Mahatheri's most venerable Bhikkhu preceptor, the late Chief Sanghanaika of the Western Hemisphere for the Sayamopali of Sri Lanka, Most Venerable Havanpola Ratanasara Nayaka Mahatera, and all the Most Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha who supported her ordination. Not all Sri Lankan, but many were. Our Vice Abbess Ayasobhana Theri's Most Venerable Bhikkhu preceptor, the founding senior bhikkhu of the Dambula Bhikkhuni Order of Sri Lanka, Most Venerable Siri Sumangala Nayaka Mahatero, and all the ordaining bhikkhu sangha involved in her ordination also. And Ayasobhana's Most Venerable Pabaja preceptor, Chief Sanghanayaka of North America, Most Venerable Henapola Gunaratana Nayaka Mahatero. Together with all the senior Sri Lankan Bhantes of Northern California, of Santa Clara, Bodhi Vihara, and ABS Temple Sacramento, who have faithfully supported the first decade and a half of Theravada Bhikkhuni ordinations here in Northern California, with special gratitude to Chief Sanghanayaka of Northern California, Most Venerable Kahanda Amarabodhi Nayaka Mahatero. He's in the middle here. We also have from ABS Temple here, Bhante Shantarakshita. So appreciation to all of our Sri Lankan Bhantes in Northern California. So we have received support from many great bhikkhus and bhikkhunis throughout the ages and to this day. But we have a special debt of gratitude to the Sri Lankan Sangha for the preserving of the heritage of our ancient bhikkhuni arahants, like Arahat Sanghamitta Theri and Anuvidita Theri, for the revival of the Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha in our lifetime, and for their great and faithful support for our Dhammadharini Bhikkhuni Sangha and all of our Theravada Bhikkhunis over the year, right here at home in Northern California. So with gratitude, sadhu, 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 anumodama. Okay. And then with that, so with that gratitude, then I think I will pass it over to Ayasobhana to introduce our first guest speaker, who will be telling us about her recent pilgrimage time in Sri Lanka, seeing some of the sites associated with Sanghamitta Theri, who then we'll be hearing about some of these sites in the text, I think. So okay. She'll show us.
Venerable Bhikkhuni Silavaddhani from Germany is a longtime practitioner, now certified teacher and abbot in the Mahasi Vipassana tradition of the late Lungport Ajahn Dong Sri Sumangalo, as well as having trained for some time with the Narottaram Bhikkhuni community, and with her Pavatani, Most Venerable Saddha Sumana Mahatheri in Sri Lanka. Bhikkhuni Silavaddhani currently leads up the Lungpor Tong Vipassana Branch Temple and Retreat Center in Dhammajivi, Germany. The Dhammajivi is the name of the center in Germany. She recently returned from a pilgrimage visit to the Sanghamitta Stupa in Anuradhapura and the Anuvidita Theri Dagoba in Mahintale. And she's accepted our invitation to share with us about that visit. So this will be one of the ways of knowing the history of Sanghamitta and our ancient benefactors by visiting the actual places where they lived. Please go ahead.
Yes, Venerable Silavaddhani. We give her a...
Thank you very much, all the venerables. I'm happy to have the chance to join here, a little bit short-handed, and yeah, seeing some of you which I met before, others just knowing by name. And yeah, I might only give a little bit short, informal sharing from the pilgrimage. I have been, after finishing the Vasa here in Germany by myself, mostly living isolated as a single bhikkhuni here. I went to my preceptor, to Venerable Santa Sumana. She's now 83, 84, joining the Katina ceremony in her temple, which is quite impressive to have a nowadays living Sangha. There were about 25 senior bhikkhunis. I think most of them over, yeah, from the first and second batches. And this to experience, I spoke with Ayya Vimalanyani, or I wrote her, where we were in contact. She said it's sometimes difficult for us to be, how to say, to be not difficult, but we are not used to be around so many bhikkhunis and which have all the tradition and all this heritage with them. And so, and then we also did, as you mentioned already, the pilgrimage to the different holy places, including the Sanghamitta Stupa and the Anula Stupa. This was the first time for me. I've been many times in Sri Lanka, since the first time maybe about 13 years ago for my Samaneri ordination. And it's very inspiring to see in Sri Lanka, which we don't have so much in Thailand, that you go in temples, even you see the picture also, which is behind the Venerable Kaccayana. This is a very famous picture. You see it in the temples in Sri Lanka. And I remember the first time I came to Sri Lanka, that it's like quite familiar to see bhikkhunis even in this long history. This is something very difficult, difficult to put in words, but it's very inspiring. And also when we went to the place from the Venerable Anula Bhikkhuni, I mean, it's still in construction. They put over the excavation some kind of a roof now, and the statue is a little bit, I think the weather already make some, how to say, impression. But my Upachaya, she told me, please forgive me, I'm not so good in dates and names, but I think it must have been not so long ago, maybe exactly there. It's in the middle of nowhere, outside a little bit, very beautiful. And so about maybe 3 years ago or 2 years, probably you all know much better all these dates, there has been an opening for the excavation, and they invited hundreds of bhikkhunis. My Upachaya was there, and they make a Sanghadana at this place. And yeah, if we hear this, it sounds so, yeah, Sanghadana for many nuns. But if you imagine maybe 100, 200, 300 bhikkhunis coming together, even you are in America, you're already quite some. In Germany, we are also getting more, but this is, if they come together, maybe they were even 500. I'm not sure. I don't want to misguide you. And this is like in the time of the Buddha, when we read in the suttas, the Buddha and 1,000 disciples. But it's still sometimes happening today. And maybe this is probably also to the Sanghamitta and all these seniors. For us, sometimes in the West, or at least for me, sometimes I'm in the very, very eastern part of Germany, very nearby the Polish border, like nearby a coal mining, like in the end of the world. It's ending behind the village. And then sometimes you might think it's a little bit difficult. And people don't know, and it's not a Buddhist. Yeah, but when Sanghamitta came to Sri Lanka, they also just turned to Buddhism, if I understand right. No? They also have not been Buddhists, and there have not been bhikkhunis also. And sometimes if you read the stories of the forest monks in Thailand, also they are sometimes in the border areas, people didn't know what is a monk and maybe a dangerous tiger walking meditation. So then actually what we might be experiencing in the West or whatever, it's maybe not so different from what all these venerable elders experienced in the past, and they made it. So maybe we can also get the energy and inspiration from it and also continue our ways and to connect and to see these places. It's difficult to put in words, but it's make it very real. And yeah, maybe is enough for the starting. I expect much more profound information on all these places, and thank you for making this commemoration program possible and bringing us together now, which is very beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venerable, for joining us. I know you're late at night there and you might need to leave early, so I want to give my gratitude and appreciation now if you need to drop off at all, but happy for you to stay for our discussion also, of course, if you're available. But Anumodana. So then I think Ayasopana from here will take it away to introduce our panelists and have some discussion of these texts about the Arahant Sanghamitta.
Thank you. I think I shall first read a very short selection of text. This is a normal hour for a sutta study group, and there are some of our regular attendants are used to seeing some words up on the screen. So there is the living tradition embodied in the culture, especially the culture of Sri Lanka, where that particular image, which is next to Venerable Kaccayana, is like an icon within Sri Lankan Buddhism. It seems to be as meaningful or more meaningful in that context as for us in the United States. We have a Statue of Liberty, and that's supposed to symbolize that female figure carrying the torch of liberty symbolizes the values and the generosity of our country at the highest level. And so just the same way, the Arahant Sanghamitta Bhikkhuni, together with the Bodhi tree, is kind of like a Statue of Liberty, isn't it? That our liberation is represented and symbolizes there with that Bodhi tree. The respect for women, the opportunities for women throughout the history of Sri Lanka, as I have read, and as well the success of the revival of the Bhikkhuni ordination in Sri Lanka, I think comes in large part from within popular culture, the veneration, the respect, the appreciation, and the affection for Bhikkhuni, the Arahant Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta, with that image, bringing the very much beloved Anuradhapura Bodhi tree to that country. But it's not only popular mythology or a story, it's also something that was written in one of the earliest histories actually in the history of civilization, one of the very first written down historical documents that exists is the Dīpavaṃsa, and a little after that the Mahāvaṃsa, which was the Mahāvaṃsa in particular started at the time directly the earliest period of Sri Lankan encounter with the Dhamma, and chapters were added throughout the history of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, going all the way up to the arrival of the Portuguese colonial settlers. So it's this tremendous historical document. So now let us take a look and at a few words out of the Mahāvaṃsa. This is a short selection from another selection that you can find yourself if you visit ancientbuddhisttext.net and look for the part under the English translations of Sanghamitta and the Journey of the Bodhi Tree. In order to pay respects to the elders, Queen Anula came together with 500 women, and after listening to the Dhamma teaching with faithful minds, they entered the second path and fruit. Then Queen Anula had a desire to go forth together with the 500 women, and said this to the Lord of the world: "Today itself we will go forth, if it is your wish, Lord of the earth." Having heard her statement, the king said to the elder, that would be Bhikkhu Mahinda, "Venerable Sir, Queen Anula desires to go forth together with 500 women. Please give them the going forth." "It is not allowable, great king, for us to give ordination to women. There is in Patilaputta a bhikkhuni who is my younger sister, Sanghamitta by name, who is famous and very learned. Send a message into the presence of the king, our father, saying, 'Let her come,' and that Theri, having come, will give ordination to these women. In order to bring the great Bodhi tree and the Theri, the Lord of the world, remembering the statement spoken by the Tara, on a certain day in the rainy season, while sitting in his own city near the elder, consulted his ministers and urged his own nephew, the minister called Arita, to undertake these deeds. Then Queen Anula, with 500 young women, and together with 500 women of the inner chambers, having undertaken the 10 precepts, pure in the saffron-colored robes, looked forward to the going forth, trained themselves, and looked for the coming of the Theri. His nephew, Maharita, having reached King Dhammasoka, spoke the king's message and the elder's message. Having heard the minister's word, and then very quickly having gone into the presence of her father, the Theri spoke regarding the Tara's thought. "My brother Mahinda has sent these into my presence, and after we sent the people back, I will go. Very many people, daughters of good families, with Anula at their head, desiring to go the going forth, are looking forward to my journey." The king, who was flushed, having heard the Theri's words, with a shower of tears set rolling, said this to the Theri: "My son Mahinda, dear, and my grandson Sumana, having left us here, I am as though with my hands cut off. Seeing their faces today, your grief will be allayed. But now, not seeing you also, dear, how will I dispel my grief in being parted from my son and grandson? Enough, dear. If you were to go today, You also will not return. Having heard the words of her father, the Theri said this: My brother's word is weighty for me, O king, together with the request of the great queen and the 1,000 women. Further, I suppose this is not just my brother's word, and many are waiting for the coming of the going forth. This I desire to give, great king. So now I must go. If you desire to go, after taking a branch of the supreme Bodhi tree and going, noble lady, you must see your brother in Lanka. On the first day of the lunar fortnight, in the bright half of Magasira, he raised the great Bodhi tree, with help given by 8 of each from high-born families appointed at the root of the Sala tree, with all kinds of offerings. He descended into the water up to his neck and established the tree properly on the ship, and invited the great elder Sanghamitta with 11 other nuns onto the ship with various offerings. While watching the ship with the great Bodhi tree on board, going from the multitude and the king, after crossing the water some way, manifold offerings were made by the gods, and the Nagas worked magic in order to seize the great Bodhi. The great Theri Sanghamitta, who had gained the strength of psychic powers, taking the form of a supanna, frightened the great snakes. Trembling and fearful, after seeing the spiritual power and splendor of the Mahateri, bowing to the Theri with their heads at her feet, they begged for their lives, saying, Don't be angry with us, Aye, noble lady. On this journey today there will be no obstacle for you. You will be safe. We have come in order to ask for the Bodhi tree. She gave the great Bodhi tree to the Nagas to honor, and then, having taken the great Bodhi tree, they went to the dragon's abode. After honoring the enlightenment tree with various offerings and giving it sovereignty over the Naga realm for 7 days, and bringing it back, they placed it on the ship. And that same day, the ship arrived at Jambukola in Lanka. The Lord of the earth, driven by joy at the coming of the great Bodhi tree, plunged into the water up to his neck and raised the beautiful body of the great Bodhi tree on his head. He emerged from the ocean, placed it aside with all offerings, and placed it under the care of the 16 families in that lovely pavilion. For 3 days on the shore of the ocean, the Lord of Lanka, having adorned it, honored it with sovereignty over Lanka. The lordly Mahabodhi tree was said in the lovely words of the land of Lanka to become a flag of the true Dhamma, and came to be wonderfully established there. Queen Anula with 500 women, together also with the 500 women of the inner chambers, having received ordination in the presence of Sanghamitta Theri. Those 1,000 bhikkhunis, developing noble insight in no long time, also became Theris, attaining the state of Arahata.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I'll let you wait another minute before starting our conversation. I'd like to introduce the bhikkhunis who are visible here on the screen to you. You already met Ayla Silavaddhani. Brahmavara is here. She had her going forth as a Anagarika, her first ordination as Anagarika, and then the Sila Pambaja, first starting Anagarika in 2001, Pambaja in 2004, practicing at Amaravati and Chitters Monastery in UK for 15 years. Aya Brahmavara received the Bhikkhuni full ordination in 2021 at the Aranyabodhi Hermitage with Ayatollah as preceptor. then you can also see Venerable Maharajina. I didn't take notes on you, so I think you had your Pabaja in 2010, and I think that you had your Bhikkhuni ordination in 2012 at the Aranya Bodhi. Say?
I'm just here to support and to learn today.
Yes, but I want us to see you and appreciate you. We have so many who have had a connection with Dhammadharini. So now presently dwelling in Florida and actively involved in an aspiring program to bring the Dhamma to Cuba and other countries in the Latin America.
So
Then we have Venerable Bhikkhuni Anuvidita, who had her going forth in 2019 at the Ananja Vihara in Germany with Ayya Palanyani as preceptor, and then subsequently ordained right here with Dhammadharini, together with Ayya Brahmavara, and also Venerable Kachayana and Venerable Tisarni, all four of them.
Right, so it's
ordained.
almost a reunion. Almost a reunion here. We're just
Yeah,
missing
it's like a
Venerable
reunion.
Tisarni. So, but then
We've got 3 out of 4 of this class of bhikkhunis who ordained together in 2021. Venerable Anuvidita is presently, you've been spending time in Thailand and also at the Santi Janati, which is an aspiring bhikkhuni monastery in Costa Rica. So this is part of the theme of this year, is recognizing the Dhammaduta, or the Dhamma messenger service of so many of our contemporary women, bringing the Dhamma and bringing the bhikkhuni form to different places in the world where it has never been seen before, or where it's a new thing. So just as Sanghamitta brought the bhikkhuni form to Sri Lanka, we're bringing to these other countries. Then last of all, in the screen in front of you, Venerable Dhammanusari, who was oh, not here. Okay. Okay, sorry. Venerable Dhammajivi, who is next to Venerable Kachayana, just very recently had the Samaneri ordination. She is been a tremendous advocate and supporter for reviving the bhikkhuni form for the Cambodian Sangha, and now has herself taken on this this training, and joined the growing community of Khmer Bhikkhunis who are originating from Cambodia, or from Cambodian culture, and who have the aspiration to support the opportunities for women in that country. Now, I would like to invite any of you to give a signal if you would like to be the next one to speak for a few minutes about the importance of the history and how we come to know Sanghamitta's story, and how that story is support and a benefit for us. Okay, yes, right, you do, but I'd like to do one round with the bhikkhunis who are present.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask each of you to speak at one time, and then I'm going to call on Dhammajivi. And if nobody puts their hand, I'll just ask appoint Ayya Brahmavara to be the first to speak.
Thank you, Ayya, so much. Can you hear me okay? Great. Yes, it's just, first of all, I want to say how grateful I am to be here in this wonderful assembly. It's very beautiful to be with other bhikkhunis. I'm also living alone as a bhikkhuni, so it's really very uplifting to have this opportunity and on such a special occasion. And I haven't actually been to Sri Lanka. It's something that I hope to do at some point, to pay respects to Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta and to visit all the sacred temples and sites in Sri Lanka. But I must say, since becoming a bhikkhuni, I have really taken in how connected I feel now to Sri Lanka as a bhikkhuni because of this lineage that we have in Sri Lanka. It feels very natural. Our existence is a given. It's okay to be a woman in ochre robes in Sri Lanka. And I sort of, my journey as a nun was through the Thai forest Sangha. That was my first ordinations, and spent many years in Thai forest monasteries, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But it is a very different culture, and the bhikkhuni presence in the Thai tradition is not so apparent. There are many nowadays, of course, many bhikkhunis in Thailand, and very well supported, very established, and yet, it's not quite as natural or easeful, perhaps, for women to go forth as bhikkhunis within that culture at this point in time. And so I must say, being at Dhammadharini particularly, I picked up very much the connection with Sri Lankan lay friends supporting the monastery, so many. And visiting also when Venerable Dhammadina ordained over in, is it West Virginia? We went to her ordination a couple of years ago, and going to, anyway, this Sri Lankan community and Sri Lankan monastery to Sri Lankan Venerable's ordination was very uplifting. Again, the sense of a very long lineage and a culture where bhikkhunis are part of there is a fourfold Sangha in existence that has been there really for a very long time, even though perhaps the bhikkhuni revival is more recent, since the 90s, yet this history is there for us. And so I feel that the story of Sanghamitta and the beautiful scriptures that we have in these Sri Lankan texts are a great uplift, not just for bhikkhunis, but for everybody. And to learn about how the Theravada Sangha took root in Sri Lanka is just so awesome. Mahinda as well, Sanghamitta's brother, Venerable Mahinda, Venerable Sanghamitta, coming over from India, perhaps a precarious journey, perhaps risky. You get the impression from the story that you read, Ayya Sobhana, that the Nagas are there, the ocean is perhaps dangerous and the crossing is not a sure thing. And I was also very touched to read about King Ashoka, who's letting his children go, letting his children ordain very happily, I'm sure, but then also letting them go to a country, to a place where he knows he's not going to see them again. And this flushed, he was flushed and he shed tears. And that's very, for me, powerful, just to take in that it was a sacrifice. And he bid them farewell, so that they could undertake this great mission. And so this whole story is extremely inspiring. And I'm also inspired, I must say, yes, to to acknowledge that there are bhikkhunis today who are similarly going to places where there is no lineage, there is no Theravadan Buddhism, and the willingness to go and just practice in Costa Rica, Venerable Anuvidita, and such places, to go and to, with faith, to spread the Dharma. And this is really wonderful. So I feel a connection right here and now with this kind of practice, and so much gratitude today to these great bhikkhunis, past and present.
Thank you. Next, I shall call on Venerable Anuvidita, if you have a reflection about this text and about Sanghamitta. Your sound.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Aye, for inviting me. Actually, I recently come from a pilgrimage from India, so all that story with the ancient times in India are quite close for me at the moment. So being part of this here is to me, it's very touching. Because yes, for me it was the first time in India, and it became just more real that there were those beings there in the ancient times that went just the path before us and that prepared the way. And yes, actually, especially to Sanghamitta, I didn't know a lot of her. The only story I remember is that, if I remember well, she brought the Buddha tree to Sri Lanka, and then, but I'm not sure if that story is correct, but did the original Bodhi tree in India die because of a reason, and they brought it back from Sri Lanka? I'm not sure if that's right. Maybe you can help me out with the information there, but that was just something I had thought about. And yes, in general, at the moment, I'm in Thailand, basically. And yes, I'm very grateful just to be here, because I also, it has certainly its challenges. It is a very beneficial time for me, I feel, because here there is a certain Buddhist culture also ingrained a lot in the people, in the society. But of course, the Bhikkhuni topic is well, it is where it is. And but I personally, I receive a lot of benevolence and a lot of support, and it's very, very nice to experience that, to just that the value of just being a samana is just they recognize it here, and that is very, yes, that is very supportive, I feel. And they just notice if they just look how you're practicing, and if they are okay with you, then they just support you. Then they are just happy to have a samana here to support. And regarding to Costa Rica that you mentioned, actually at the moment, this project is a little bit behind, because yes, I think I might spend some more time here first. But who knows, maybe one day, or maybe another one wants to step in there in Costa Rica, because the land is there, and I know also the people in Costa Rica are very receptive for the Dhamma. It feels like a very good and nourishing ground. So yes, I don't know if there's something else you're interested in to know, or you want me to talk about, please let me know.
You may have another chance in another circle of speaking. So thank you so much. I know that Ayya Marajana was not planning to give a speech today, but if you would like to say a few words about your appreciation for the Arahat Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta and compare it to your own work as a messenger of the Dhamma.
Sadhu, Aye. Am I clear? Can you hear
Yes.
me? No, I wasn't prepared to say anything. I just really wanted to join you. The story of Sanghamitta, I wasn't very familiar with, even though I love Sri Lanka. I loved Anuradhapura and have always wanted to return to meditate there, because that's such a very beautiful energy and such a very beautiful place and people. So I wasn't prepared, but I've been learning a little bit of Arahanti Sanghamitta. And like Ayya Brahmavara, I was very touched by the story of, especially when we just have in common our humanity. And it's one thing to see the statues and the paintings and hear the name, but really to listen to the story. And I know that King Asoka, he was left without heirs, I believe. Such meritorious family and such meritorious people, and yet he came to a lonely place in his older years. So it's very, very touching what he sacrificed, and his whole conversion story. I don't know if I can compare myself to Arahanti Sanghamitta in any way. I'm going to Cuba, but it's my motherland, sort of, my mother tongue. So it's a different thing than a journey across the ocean. Although I would have really loved to see the Nagas and have that interaction with the Nagas. I haven't come across them in Cuba yet or on the airlines, but it's like a coming home, and it's a wonderful group in Cuba that's very sincere, very good practitioners, and I mean, I just feel like it was such an auspicious, maybe accidental thing that I've been gifted. So I don't know how Sanghamitta felt, but it's truly wonderful and amazing to share the Dhamma, and that's what I'd like to share with you.
Well, may you be like Arahanti Anula as the first Cuban bhikkhuni, and may you find 1,000 colleagues in Cuba to establish a Sangha that will last there for a long time.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
I'm now going to call on Samaneri Dhammajivi, who has done some homework and has a wonderful presentation to give us with a lot more amazing details from this precious historical text.
So before that, there's a little comment from Ayataloka saying she can confirm what Venerable Anuvidita said. Yes, the current Sri Mahabodhi tree at Bodhi Palanke, Vajrasana in Bodh Gaya is a cutting from the Jaya Sri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura, Sri Lanka, which was brought by Sanghamitta Theri, which itself was a cutting from the original tree, the southern branch sapling. So per botany, they are all the same original tree, same DNA, first generation, each one a cutting of the next. And with that, we'll turn it over to Samaneri Dhammajivi.
Happy
have-
Sanghamitta Day.
Okay, can you hear her?
Do you hear me?
Yes, okay.
Happy Sanghamitta Day to all the venerables, to everyone else. I would like Sanghamitta story has been I've been learning about it. I've been inspiring about it. I try to read, but there's so many different versions, and each version talk a little bit differently. So sometimes I go into circle, but I'm going to try my best, trying to put together my thought in connection with what Ayya Chopana just said, just kind of connect together the whole story. So first of all, I would like to pay respect to all the venerable, gratitude especially to the Sri Lankan Bhikkhunis, because that's your connection, that's your story, and I appreciate the opportunity for the story so that I can learn about it, share about it. So Sanghamitta, I've been asking around, who knows Sanghamitta? Some do, some don't. So Sanghamitta, she was the daughter of Emperor Asoka, as we know, some of us know, with Devi as her mother. She's the younger sister of Mahāvaṃsa Thera, and she was married to Upaja Aki Brahma. Aki Brahma, and they both had a son named Sumana. So they both, her husband and her son, went forth into monastic life. Yeah. so what happened? So Dhamma Asoka, her father, on the day that he was celebrating, because just the day of completing the 84,000 monastery that he was built, so during that time they have like a congregation of all the monks, bhikkhus, bhikkhuni as well, and he was asking the Sangharaja Mokalan Buddha, I believe the short name, said he asked him, the emperor, to see if anybody was as generous as he was. Then the Sangharaj said, no, king, even during the Buddha time, nobody was as generous as he was. Then he was so happy. And then he thought he would be the inheritant of the Buddha Sasana, because he was the most generous person. When he said that, the Sangharaja, being him the Arahant himself, he saw the condition of his son, Mahanda, and his daughter, Sanghamitta, for the growth of the Sasana. So then he said, all the wealth. Can you share this slide? Yeah. So I have a slide, a snip from the Mahāvaṃsa, the Pali, as well as the translation, to see the exact verbiage of that. But I'm going to just summarize it. One more. The other one. Yeah. So then no wealth could make you be an heir to the Buddha Sasana, unless you basically let your son and your daughter go forth. So the king emperor wanted to be an heir to the Buddha Sasana. So he asked his children, Mahanda and Sanghamitta, who was standing next to him at the time, would you go ordain? Is a good thing. And for Sanghamitta, her husband and her son were ordained already about 2 years before. And Mahanda, he had the ordination in mind as well. So they both want to ordain that same day if possible. So they had a big ordination ceremony for both of them, Mahanda and Sanghamitta. Mahanda at the time he was 20, Sanghamitta was 18 years old, and she was only taking the papaja, not the higher ordination, because of her age. And so as you know, that Mahanda, then after that, he went with his teacher, and also along with her son, Sumana, and another nephew for the mission, the Asoka mission to Sri Lanka. And as we heard from the story, when the Queen Anula and her 500 companions listened to the Dhamma from Mahenda, they achieved the second entry, what you call that entry, right? Yeah. And then they, and once returned, yes. So, so they want to ordain. So that's how, that's how this got connected. That's how the story get connected. So this one I just want to show this the exact snip or verbiage from the Mahāvaṃsa, both the English and the Pali of the conversation. I thought that's really touching to see how the Sangaraja talked to the emperor, how the emperor talked to the kids and how they responded. So we can go to the next one. Oh, and this one I want to talk about the last here. The last quote from here said the nun, Sanghamitta as a crescent moon, the monk Mahenda as the sun, younger sister and brother. These tools were lights of the awakening one's dispensation, right? So that's really touching. And if we can go to the next, yes, the other one, this one. Yep. So this is the picture of one of many pictures of Sanghamitta's trip from India to Sri Lanka, you know, on a boat through the sea. As IIT had just confirmed that, yes, the tree that was planted in Anuradhapura, is that how you pronounce it? Anuradhapura in Sri Lanka is the original, is a sapling from the original Bodhi tree that the Buddha obtained his enlightenment under. And it was planted on the full moon day of December. So that's why, so today is a full moon, right? Today is yesterday, yeah. So today is the anniversary of that planting of that amazing tree. Not just amazing, the tree that, you know, that I would say the Mahāvaṃsa call it the king of tree for the salvation of the people island. That's what they call in the Mahāvaṃsa for that. So what the, and then she ordained 100, not 100, but 1,000 women, being Queen Anula being the first women, the first woman in Sri Lanka to get ordained and to attain arahantship, right? So Venerable Sanghamitta Theri remained in Sri Lanka for the rest of her life, and she went into nirvana on her 58th vasa. So that made her like 79 years old when she went into nirvana, parirvana, and that was like a year after her brother went. And a stupa is created for her. It's like a you know, like celebration ceremony, just as you know, as what you call that, as you know, as festive as her brother was. So, and these two relics here are supposed to be her relics. So I got these from IIT. So I just want to share, you know, you can see her picture, the tree, and the picture of the Queen Anula and her companion for the 1,000, they're lining up to get ordination and her relics. Okay, so now we know about Sanghamitta. Let's go to the next one. She traveled with 11 bhikkhunis, made it 12, including herself. We don't know enough about them. So for today, I would like to call their name. If possible, if we have some time. Yeah? Okay, briefly. So if we can call their name, if we can read together, if that's possible, you know? Well, can we?
Okay.
The first one being Theri Sanghamitta, Uttara, Vichakara, Hema, Pasada Bata, Akimitra, Dasika, Pego, Babata, Mata, Mala,
Dhammadharini.
yeah, the 12, right? Do we go 12?
Is that 12?
Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, so these 12 came from from India, And, you know, Mahāvaṃsa, we don't know a lot about their lifestyle, but Dīpavaṃsa talk about their activities. So these are teachers. So they taught Vinaya Pitaka. They also taught the 5 collections of suttas, as well as the 7 treaties of 7 treaty, which is the upper dhammas. So they're well versed. So you can imagine 11, 12 of them, you know, teaching the 1,000 women plus lay people, plus continue on. And actually, we can see that the next generation is also as inspired as Sanghamitta, where they brought, you know, or they traveled to China to ordain Bhikkhuni in China in the 4th century. So this is an example of these women that, you know, that wise, that are, I don't know, they basically the wheel turner of the Dhamma, or they spread. So as we talk about that, they were traveling through the ocean, you know, it would be scared. It would, you know, with their knowledge, with their power, I don't think it was a scary thing, you know, because they could change, they could transform. So it's a miraculous to be around them. I wish I could see what it's like. So I don't think it was a scary thing. I think it was like a missionary, you know, an adventure. I see an adventure. I do. So so that's how I see. And now I can imagine with these faces, I like the activity that they did. And women were intelligent, were teachers, were Dhamma teachers. So so this is something that we should be proud of. Great inheritance that we get, that these women, they're knowledgeable. They know all the Vinaya, the Sutta, the Upper Dhamma, and they, you know, they taught and they carry that tradition on. So I'm very proud of them. So the last one, I just want to, you know, when Ayosapana read the story, when the king asked for the Venerable Mahanda to give ordination to the women, he said, you know, it's not appropriate for us to give ordination and ask the king to invite Sanghamitta. So I want to take us back to Mahāvaṃsa as well. They talk about there are Bhikkhunis from the previous 3 Buddhas, and they came to Sri Lanka, to the same spot. So to the same spot where the tree is being planted. So and each Buddha sat, you know, in deep meditation, rising with thoughts and thinking of what to save the island people. And their thought was like bringing the south branch of the sampling of the Bodhi tree by or with a particular Bhikkhuni. For the first Buddha, it was like Bhikkhuni Rujananda, along with 500 other Bhikkhuni. For the second Buddha, Bhikkhuni Janta Kannada, the same thing. And for the third is Bhikkhuni Sudama. And each of these Bhikkhuni would then just go to, when the Buddha said that, they knew of the Buddhist thought, and they would just go to get the king of in India, and then just go to the Bodhi tree. And with that magical power, the sampling of the Bodhi tree just got cut off and got into the vase. And then they would travel, take the Bodhi tree to Sri Lanka and hand it to the Buddha, and he received the right hand, and he then give the tree to the king, and then the king would plant it. But for the so to me, it seems like and plant on the same spot. And to me, it seems like, I was like curious, you know, the previous 3 Buddhas had the exact same story of each of the Buddha, where a Bhikkhuni take the tree and knew the Buddha's thought and got the king. So the Bhikkhuni was also active. She did everything and came and got to Sri Lanka. And with 500 Bhikkhunis coming along. I don't know how they came. I assume they were flying. I assume they were, because, you know, they're like, they're powerful. They had magic power. So, but in Sanghamitta's story, the king had to, or Venerable Mahanda had to send a messenger to the king to inform the king, or to ask from the king, and then to inform Sanghamitta. So that kind of strange, and only 11, 12, including her. So, and the other thing I want to wrap, to really help me understand, because each one of you, the trip of the Bodhi tree and the Bhikkhuni was like, it's the saving of the people of the island. So to me, it's more than like just, just establish a Bhikkhuni Sangha over there or bring a tree. It's more than that. It's more than that. It's a livelihood of the island. So today, I think it's appropriate that we celebrate Sanghamitta Day, because such an amazing and beneficial trip or story, So this is what I want to share. And were you able to show the slide? You did? Okay. All right. Okay. And the last thing I want to share my feeling is that not only that today is for the Sanghamitta Day, and it's the inheritance of the Sri Lankan people, but Sanghamitta came from India, and I think I also feel connected to the Indian Bhikkhunis, and they are in, they need help from everybody to kind of guide them, because they don't have a lot. They just like most of us, we're not there yet. So that's what I have to share. I didn't want to read all that, but I could share all these slides if it's beneficial.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. In the last 15 minutes that we have for this part of the program, I would like to invite, if any of our Bhikkhuni panel has further reflection in response to what the Samaneri has offered us, or whether any of the listeners have a question that they would like to ask from this Bhikkhuni panel. Okay, Maharajina.
Do I have sound?
You do.
Well, Venerables, one of our projects this week with Theravada Kuva was to create a short clip that we received from Dhammadharini, links to different media for this day, and we took one of the clips and we translated that into Spanish with Ayatata Loka's help in correcting some errors in the original, and also expanding on the information that was presented. And I would like to present that on Tuesday. I don't have that with me. It was a wonderful learning experience, and I wanted to address something that Samaneri Dhammajivi mentioned about the Indian Bhikkhunis now. As I've understood some of the history in our 2600 year lineage, there have been many times where the bhikkhu or the bhikkhuni sangha has sort of died out, and then with the help of neighboring monasteries have offered their teachers to repopulate those monasteries. And I think that we're just the history just keeps coming around in samsara, and we're doing that now, and it's India's turn. India has given much to our lineage and to our the Buddha Sasana, and so now we are returning that, and just full circle, and many, many circles that are full circles. So that just came to my mind.
Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Right. Samaneri Dhammajivi has a question.
So my question is, the link between right now, I'm curious about how Sanghamitta came to Sri Lanka, and also how is it a little bit different from how the previous Bhikkhuni went to Sri Lanka from the previous Buddha, and with that many Bhikkhunis who were who had this magical power, or who can fly, can do all these things, who's like courageous. I'm just wondering, during the Asukam mission, there's Bhikkhus went to different places. And where I came from, Cambodia, which is known to be Savanapumi at the time. And according to the record, 1,500 women were ordained during that time. So I'm just wondering, if the Bhikkhu were not ordaining women directly, and the Bhikkhuni were available and they could come easily, which Bhikkhuni would ordain these 1,500 women? I just want to put it out there because that's been, I want to know, because that is not in the story that I could find, that I can find yet, but yeah, so any thought?
I have heard that in other parts of our tradition, in particular in Vietnamese, which is blended monastic culture with influences from the Southern Theravada tradition and also influences from the Chinese Mahāvaṃsa tradition, are both very much intertwined in Vietnamese monasticism. And I have very often heard that it was just, everybody understood that if there was no bhikkhuni sangha around to give an ordination, then the bhikkhus could give the ordination to a woman, and in that way repopulate the bhikkhuni sangha. And we also know that in recent times, our friend Bhikkhu Analayo made a deep study of the opinions of contemporary Vinaya masters about the revival of the bhikkhuni ordination. He was not trying to argue about history, but he was trying to understand what was the most acceptable to the conservative part of our tradition in terms of the understanding of those who are scholars of the Vinaya. And his conclusion actually was that in the case where the Bhikkhuni Sangha in the country has died out, that the best way to restart the Bhikkhuni ordination is to have the bhikkhus do the ordination. But then after there is the existence of a Bhikkhuni Sangha, at that point, it's not proper for the bhikkhus to ordain by themselves without the ordination being first done with the Bhikkhuni Sangha in the dual ordination form. So in most of the world now, where we have bhikkhunis in the Theravada, it's a dual ordination. First, the woman candidate is ordained by a qualified Sangha of bhikkhunis, and then after being ordained on one side, the person ordained on one side goes over to the Bhikkhu Sangha and makes her declaration. And then that ordination is affirmed and confirmed by the Bhikkhu Sangha, so that she's gotten ordained by both the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis. But that dual ordination, according to Venerable Analayo's interviews and study, is the right kind of ordination when there's the presence of a bhikkhuni sangha, and when there is not the presence of a bhikkhuni sangha, then the bhikkhus should ordain women in order to establish the bhikkhuni sangha. And so I think that the wonderful story that we have of Sanghamitta is a story about the continuity and the vitality of the dual ordination tradition, and what Samaneri Dhammajivi is describing about the Saranabhumi, the establishment there, could be reflecting a different traditions, and both of them are valid depending on the conditions. That's just my response, and Ayatoloka may answer something differently.
Well, thank you, Aye. There are a couple comments from Ayatoloka popping into the chat. So let me read these out. A couple points that have come up earlier on she was responding to. One was the idea about Emperor Ashoka. It had been expressed that he was left without heirs, and she says actually he was not left without heirs, even if two of his daughters by two different wives became bhikkhunis. So that was Princess Ven Bhikkhuni Sanghamitta Theri from his first wife before he became emperor, and Princess Ven Bhikkhuni Charumati Theri from his later wife as emperor. So even two of his daughters did become bhikkhunis. But Mahinda Thero, as Ashoka's son before he became emperor, was not his heir to the throne, nor was Sanghamitta Theri's son Sumana, who also ordained as a bhikkhu and became an Arahant. He had other children, but those ones were beloved children and grandchildren to him. They came from his first marriage, which was a love marriage, and those children were the beloved children of that love marriage prior to his becoming emperor and marrying again. So they were particularly close to him. So just responding to the point about heirs, he did have heirs, but special connection also with those particular children. And then, yeah, so Ayati didn't have an answer about Suvarnabhumi. I think it's sort of one of these tantalizing historical things, but I think maybe her next question was inspired sort of these things that we see in the history, and then we wonder how exactly did it happen, because something seems like maybe it was different and we just don't really have the historical record. Or I'm filling this part in of why this next comment came. You can correct me if I'm reading more into it. But anyway, she shortly after you talked about Suvarnabhumi, she put in a question. This story says that two groups of 500, that is 1,000 women, were ordained straight away. This is Tisa Theri and the 1,000 women. Per contemporary Bhikkhuni Vinaya, it would have taken Sanghamitta Theri 2,000 years to ordain them. She would still need to be with us now ordaining them. Right, so for anyone who doesn't know, this is the contemporary Bhikkhuni Vinaya, as it comes down to us, says that a Bhikkhuni can only ordain one candidate every other year. But we do see these stories where large numbers of women were ordained all at once. And I mean, even if you have 12 bhikkhunis ordaining women still, it would take a long time to ordain 1,000. So this seems like some sort of historical evidence that there has been development in the way the Vinaya is held over time, but we don't know exactly the story. We don't know exactly how that came to be. And Suvarnabhumi also, there's evidence that, you know, somebody ordained those women there.
Yeah, somebody.
According to the text.
I would just imagine like the bhikkhuni during the previous Buddha, they could understand, hear the Buddha's thought without sending anybody over there. So I can imagine like during their sukha, if these bhikkhuni had that capability, and the two bhikkhu, Sauna and Uttara, they when they got 15 women, and they wanted to ordain, I would imagine the bhikkhus, would potentially knew that and fly there. So anyway, that just got me excited. So
Okay. All right, another comment from Ayataloka. She says, with regards to Sawanabhumi, I think it is important to note that some records only record the male missionaries. In some, only Mahinda is mentioned. Only because of the Sri Lankan Pali text tradition do we know about Sanghamitta Theri, Anula Theri, and these Arahat Bhikkhunis by name in detail. So this wasn't passed down in the other records, but in Sri Lanka it was. So
there may have been bhikkhunis who were just not recorded in history.
yeah. Yeah, so that's the tantalizing thing that we can't really know given our current records, but maybe. Right.
We've coming up right up to the time that was declared for this program.
Mhm.
And I would like to welcome some of us who want to stay on a little bit longer. We're going to take a small interval of a break. And then a very generous and devoted person named God, I hope, is he still there or going to be coming back? Has offered some, there you are, God Vanier, welcome. So in about like a 10-minute interval after this program, we're going to rearrange things here, and you will participate from afar to witness the formal hand offering of the rope sets that you have generously offered for the Bhikkhuni Sangha.
Okay.
That's coming up soon.
Coming up soon, but before that, we want to close this program with our gratitude to everyone who has participated today. So very happy to have with us, of course, Ayasobana for leading our discussion, and Venerable Bhikkhuni Silavaddhani. I'm glad you could stay with us the whole time. Happy to still see you and meet you today online. Ayamarajina, always nice to see you. And Brahmavara and Venerable Anuvidita, my ordination sisters, happy to have you here today. And Samaneri Dhammajivi, putting together these slides and all this extra wonderful information for us. And gratitude also to Ayataloka behind the scenes and joining us in the comments with her wonderful wisdom and questions and knowledge. And to all of you who have joined us and here on the Zoom, on the YouTube or Facebook, those who may be watching this later, we rejoice in your time spent together, learning about the great Arahant Bhikkhuni, Sanghamitta Theri, and Anulatisa Theri, and whole story of how, great nations moved to bring those women together so that the ordination could be passed on, so that the Dhamma could be passed on, and that there could be awakened ones in Sri Lanka. Anulatisa Theri was the first in Sri Lanka of any gender. And so what a great gift to the world that is. And how wonderful to spend this time reflecting on that wonderful gift today, and hoping that may be something that we can all pass on. So Anumodana, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We could close with paying our respects to the Triple Gem.
Arahant
Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi
Savakato
Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang namasami.
Supatipanno
Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami.
Thank you for
everyone.
your